you for joining again. My name is Alexandra Holder. I'm the moderator for today's webinar. I'm going to go in with my introduction. Good afternoon. My name is AJ Holder. I am the Programs Assistant for the Mission Programs and Native Initiatives. I'm a Oglala Lakota, Winnebago, Wichita, Second Fox, and Northern Cheyenne. I live in the lands of the Osage, Kansa, Kickapoo, and Oceti Sakowin people. I would also like to acknowledge my coworker Elisabeth. She's going to be the one moderating the chat today. So if you see anyone dropping links in the chat, that's who that is. Would you go to the next slide, please, Elisabeth? So this is the people behind this webinar today. So thank you, Elisabeth. Next slide. SACNAS was established in 1973 and is celebrated its 50th year as a STEM organization dedicated to fostering the success of Chicano, Hispanic, and Native Americans from college students to professionals and attaining advanced degrees, careers, and positions of leadership in STEM. SACNAS is based out of California, which is the original homeland to over 200 tribal nations, bands, and rancheras of Native American and Indigenous people. We'd like to take this time to acknowledge the original inhabitants of the various regions which we all live, work, and honor the rich culture of Indigenous people all over the country. And in the chat, Elisabeth is going to drop a link to you can look up which tribal lands you reside on. Next slide. All right, so this is why everyone is here today. Thank you all for joining us. Today's webinar is how to become a doctor. So I'd like to introduce our speakers. Siam Boyd and Dr. Thaius Boyd. They come from the Okayawinga tribe based out of New Mexico, but are from Kansas. Both Siam and Thaius are graduates from Haskell Indian Nations University, where they obtained their undergraduate degrees. Siam is a first-year medical student at the University of South Dakota School of Medicine. Dr. Thaius Boyd graduated from the University of Minnesota School of Medicine with his M.D. He is now an anesthesiologist resident at the Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, Massachusetts. Both will share their experiences within their tribal universities, as well as the hoops they had to jump through to get to where they are today. I'll now pass the virtual floor to Siam and Thaius. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the introductions. So I'll introduce myself a little more. Senge Tamu, my name is Thaius Boyd. I'm a tribal member of the Okayawinga tribe. Pardon me, I've been working a lot of hours, so bear with me. Initially grew up in Kansas. My mom had been teaching at Haskell Indian Nations University as an instructor for many years, and that's the reason why me and my brother grew up in Kansas. But ultimately, we followed in her footsteps and attended Haskell Indian Nations University, where I majored in environmental science and got my bachelor's degree there before getting a master's at the University of Kansas in environmental assessment, and then receiving my medical degree at the University of Minnesota. We can talk a lot more about the different pathways into medicine, but there's no one linear line. Now I'm a first-year anesthesiology resident at the Brigham and Women's Hospital out in Boston, and be happy to talk more about my pathway into medicine, as well as choosing anesthesia as my career of choice. But I'll pass the torch on to my brother, Siam.
Yeah, I think Ty said it for the both of us. We're both from Kansas, and we went to Eudora High School, went to Haskell Indian Nations University for our undergrad. My brother actually kind of like paved the way a little bit, like trailblazed it, because I also got my environmental science degree from like same as him. And then I actually took a little bit different path and went to post-bac pathway out in Oregon for a year. And then eventually applied to medical school and got in. So yeah, we're just going to be talking about our journeys. They're pretty unique, and also about like, maybe if you guys have questions about challenges and obstacles of like what it's like going to TCU and like what we had to overcome with like what we had resource wise, we can also talk about that as well. So I'll go to the next slide. Okay, so I can go first about why medicine. So I really do just like medicine, as in like there's multiple reasons. Like I don't have like that one reason. If like they ask in a personal statement of like, why'd you choose medicine? I don't have like that one exact reason. It's kind of a culmination of like representation of like there's less than 1% of all the physicians out there, like less than 1% is Native physicians. And so just being there to like represent Native people as who we are and just be a voice in the community, I think that's very important. And then along with that is disparities out there in Native countries and stuff like that. So just being able to like have the opportunity to like go work out there eventually sometime is like something I would like to do. And I think that'd be great to like, just be able to give back to my community directly. And then I put patient care that's because I first got my first clinical experience when I was in high school. And that's just volunteering at the hospital. And it's just really special to like be in a clinic. And now like being in med school, we've learned like the importance of like these patients are coming to you at probably like their most vulnerable times. And they're trusting you like 100% that you're going to help them. You're going to help their families. You're going to help their loved ones. And I just think like it's just a lot of honor and respect that you have to like, it's like a profession that you just feel really prideful in, and it just like, fills you up and makes you like feel complete. So that's why I really like medicine. And then I put my family there as well. This is just because I just really think it's going to be a profession that you can pass down for generations. And, you can like provide opportunities for like the next generations to come of like, oh, this is what, we're actually like making a bigger progress into getting more Native physicians out there. So now you can go, Thais.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what Siam says really culminates with a lot of my colleagues who are natives in medicine. Many of us go into it because there's not a lot of representation of us in the field of medicine. When you think about the doctors that have served you before, not many of them come from the same background as us, and so we have this unique upbringing that when we go through medical school and we go through residency, we understand a little more about the culture and the background when providing care. Specifically, being in anesthesia, we're the pain docs. We're the best when it comes to interventional pain and in dealing with all types of pain. And understanding that Native Americans have a long history of trauma, having that background and that history helps me tailor my care more differently than someone who doesn't know about the history of our people. So it's good to have us represented in the field of medicine. And in addition, going through this, I think Siam can attest as well, there's not many people to look up to in this field. There's not many Native people in the realms of academia. So by going through this, you're almost a trailblazer and paving the path for people going forward. We can talk about programs that I have for you in terms of where you're at in your career, and they were influential for me in terms of helping me get to where I am today. And so I have some programs that I think will be very helpful in exposing you to medicine, as well as helping you become a leader in developing pipeline programs for yourself as well. Yeah, so next slide. I think you're still mute, bro.
Yeah, my bad. So this is just an overview slide. We're gonna like talk more in depth into like a little bit of parts of these and throughout the PowerPoint. And just from starting off as undergrad, got involved in a lot of things. And I think the most important thing about my undergrad was to like have consistency and longevity with the activities that I participated in. I felt that was like a really strong point. And like when I was asked upon during interviews about like what I did, I was able to really speak about it because I like continued it out through like my entire undergraduate. So I ran cross country for 2 years, and then COVID happened during like after my junior year. So didn't get to run my senior year. And then I volunteered at, just the hospital that's in our city, Lawrence Memorial Hospital. And then also just around Haskell events, just helping out with the Haskell community as well. And then for club wise, I was involved in like the running club, and then also some of my colleagues and I, we started a pre-health club that was like going very well, and we were doing a lot of things, and we had a lot of stuff planned. We actually had the University of Minnesota come down for a workshop, and then they really talked to us about, how to write a personal statement, how to like interview tips, and just like how to like get interested in medicine. And they even brought in like some different opportunities for the summer as well. And that also kind of ended shortly as well because of COVID. And then I guess my most prominent for undergraduate degree studies like that I did was a lot of research. I probably researched maybe like three out of my 4 years of undergrad. And I also had a summer internship at SHPEP at Columbia University in New York. And I'll talk about that more later, but that was very influential of me wanting to pursue medicine as well. And then once I graduated from Haskell, so it was during COVID and stuff still, I went to the Y-East post-bac pathway in Oregon. And I have another slide about that, talking about that more, but that really helped me also just right there to like develop strong study skills and get a better MCAT score to make me more competitive in the application process. And then a little overview about the MCAT preparation. We're going to talk more about MCAT tips later and stuff like that. But, I just took the MCAT, wrote the personal statement. That takes a lot longer than you think it is, like a lot of drafts and a lot of asking around to like people to read it. And yeah, you apply to schools, you get secondary applications that you want to like get back to them right away. Then you get interviews, and then very fortunate enough to get acceptances as well. And then I ended up choosing USD Stanford School of Medicine. There's a lot of decisions you have to make in choosing a school if you have like multiple acceptances. I chose Stanford School of Medicine just because of their mission, like their mission statement, and then how I interviewed with them. I really connected with the professors there and the deans there. And every time I like walk around at Stanford School of Medicine, the deans can just come up and talk to me, and I just feel like I'm at home. Like they're just really there for us as a person and not just like, oh, a student. So that's why I chose USD.
All right, so I'm a little more removed than Siam. Going back to 2017. Yes, so I graduated from Haskell in 2017. Wow, it feels so old. But one of the biggest recommendations I can have for as a pre-med student in undergrad is getting involved in whatever you're passionate about, and then getting involved. If you become really passionate about it, think about taking on a leadership role. Medical schools and residencies really look for people who are leaders, because once you assume the role as a physician, you often become a leader in your community and a leader within your field. So they like to see demonstration of that going forward. Clubs, extracurriculars, but it's also really important to be mindful of like health and wellness. Undergrad can be very stressful, so definitely don't overdo it either. I think find one or two things that you're very passionate about and really get involved with it, but don't overstress and just try and check off the boxes, because we all make the faults of signing up for too many things, and then we see our work go down overall. So just try to be involved with a couple. There's a number of summer internships that I did during undergrad that really exposed me a lot to medicine. And they were very influential and really, really solidified my passion for medicine. One of which was the 4Directions Summer Research Program. It's actually out here in Boston through Harvard. I'm going to put it in the chat. Here's the link right now. I'll talk about it more going forward. And then there's another program that just was created by one of my colleagues, soon to be Dr. Victor Lopez Carmen, called the FLIP program. We can talk more about that going forward in the next slides, but these are two programs here at my hospital that are very great for exposure, especially as an undergrad. And they provide you with shadowing experiences, as well as research experiences, as well as money to come here. It's a stipend, and they provide housing as well. So it's really nice overall. So after undergrad, I decided to do a post undergrad master's in environmental assessment. Like like many people in medicine, I had colleagues who had bachelors in all fields, from theater to mathematics to biology, and for me, environmental assessment. The only thing you need to know as an undergrad is you have to have a pre-med background, a curriculum. You take your organic chemistry classes, you take your biology class, you take your physics classes, but it's pretty much free for you to major in whichever other field you want to. So for me, I have a real passion for environmental science and assessment. My native name is Boatse. That means water eagle. Me and my brother used to go fly fishing all the time growing up. I really had a passion for environmental assessment, but I also had a passion for medicine. And before pursuing medicine, I wanted to get as far as I could in my environmental knowledge before going forward. And so this was a highly productive and very valuable master's for me. So I did that in 1 year, and then I moved on and I took the MCAT, the medical college admissions test, which is the standardized test that you need to go to medical school. Lots of studying. My brother will talk more about that, but just plan for, a solid, half a year to a year of studying for that. And then you apply with your personal statements, you get your secondary applications. I forget how many medical schools I interviewed at, as well as how many I got in at, but I ended up at the medical school at the University of Minnesota Duluth campus. And the reason why I chose this program is because of its commitment to Native American health. I'm going to drop another link here. The University of Minnesota has this amazing center for American Indian and minority health, and it really draws on the importance of serving our community, as well as providing opportunities for us in medical school to give back to our community and to provide care. So that was the main deciding factor for me to choose Minnesota. And then anesthesiology was an easy choice for me. I really enjoy being in the operating room, and I really enjoy being involved with people's pain and helping control their pain going forward. It's pretty much kind of up until now.
That's great. So yeah, to elaborate more for my undergraduate, was a lot of research, like I mentioned earlier, and also SACNAS played a really important role in this. So after my first year of college, I was in the Haskell KU Bridge program, and that was a summer research experience opportunity where I was in a molecular biology lab. And the lab involved colorectal cancer, but we were looking at this in mice. So they would knock out the APC gene in the mice to replicate what colon cancer would be like, and for us humans. And it's just kind of crazy thinking about looking back then to what we know now from medical school, or even taking the biology classes later. Because as a freshman at Haskell per se, I know this was a little different for Thaius, but I wasn't able to get into the chemistry classes and stuff right away, just because we didn't have the teachers there at the time yet. It wasn't set in stone. So then I had to push that off and take physics and stuff my first year, and then finally go into chemistry my sophomore year. And I took those classes at KU. And so that's another thing with Haskell and KU. I love the relationship we have with them. I'm not sure how this works with other TCUs around the nation, but Haskell and KU are just right next to each other. So they're able to take some classes at Haskell if they want to, KU students are, and then we're also able to take classes at their school. And I feel like that's just an opportunity for us students to grow and expand our knowledge even more at what it would be like to be at a D1 school. So also from that lab experience, I was able to present a poster. So I think that's another thing for your AMCAS application. And your AMCAS application is what you submit to the medical schools. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later and the whole process, but it's really important to write down every little thing that you've done. So poster presentations, conferences attended, research experiences, to have those listed down, and to make sure the time frame and who you worked with, and even down to the phone numbers. It's really meticulous about how much you need to put on that application. But I'd say that the SACNAS conference from this experience was great. I didn't present a poster at the SACNAS conference, but I was at San Antonio for the 2018 one, and that's when I found out about the Summer Health Professions Education Program. So at the SACNAS conference, they have like a lot of tables that you can go around and like you can just meet like people from anywhere and everywhere, just like any kind of program from any school. And like it's like graduate programs, it's summer research internships, it's programs like Thaius already explained, like 4Directions, yeah, just all kinds of programs. And I think that's just a great place if you're a SACNAS member to like always attend those conferences, because it's really good to network out with everybody. And then my last research experience, this was like my last 2 years of college, was through Kate Embry. So like Ty said, I also really was passionate about like environmental science, environmental health. And I was in an ecophysiology lab that we looked at the effects of carbon dioxide on wheat. And that was just a really good experience because it was hands-on. Like I didn't want to do as much bench work for my research, and I was really passionate about this. So it was talking about climate change and like how the environment impacts your health. So I thought that was really like a great experience, and I love talking about that during interviews as well. And then Thais, you can talk first about your summer internships since you got more of them.
Absolutely. I'm just going to drop one more link here for the stars. So this is, so I guess starting off, let me start off on the right and then I'll talk about the ones on the left. So the Brigham and Women's Hospital is like one of the top hospitals for Harvard in terms of it's a teaching hospital. They have done a lot of great things for diversity and inclusion. They've created a few programs, one of them which is the STARS program, which is a program for underrepresented students who are interested in medicine. It provides a research opportunity, it provides shadowing opportunities, and then also networking opportunities, but most importantly too, it provides $5,000 as a stipend for you to have while you're here. So you make some money while over the summer. I believe it's 8 weeks. And I didn't do this program specifically, but I had a lot of friends who did it and they highly recommended it. They came out very solidified that medicine was their passion and was able to really do a lot of great research. And I think a few of people actually presented their research at SACNAS later that year. The 4Directions research program is a program for Native students or those who are very interested in giving care to Native communities later after medical school and residency. You research with amazing physicians here at the Brigham and Women's Hospital. The founder of this program is actually Dr. Thomas Sequest, who is the chief medical officer for the Mass General Brigham system. He went to Harvard and then med school and residency at the Brigham way back when, but he's a great mentor for me as well. So founded by natives, really to drive home the force that we need more Native people in medicine. And a lot of my colleagues now from this are actually in residency and are finishing up residency too. The FLIP program actually was created by one of my colleagues from the 4Directions research program, Victor Lopez, who is a fourth-year med student at Harvard. He created this program, and it also provides a stipend as well as opportunities here at the Brigham for shadowing experiences and as well as research. So I highly suggest looking into these. It provides many opportunities, and I can't speak more highly of them. The one on the left is the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. If you Google them, they provide opportunities for undergrads. I can drop the link as well as a stipend for research and shadowing experiences. Here, I found it. I'll just drop it right here. A lot of these applications might be closed for this coming summer, but things to keep in mind going forward for next summer going forward. But it's a great opportunity. If you're interested in pediatrics, I was at one point, this is a great opportunity to do research within the field of peds, as well as being involved with clinical experiences within the pediatric realm. And then I'll let Siam talk about the SHEP program.
Yeah, the SHPEP program. It was 6 weeks out in New York. you know, it's just a great experience. Like all these internships, I believe most of them are stipends. They get paid, you get paid to go there, you get paid a living stipend to also eat there. And it's like just a great time just to make connections with like Ty said, like renowned physicians. I think that's the first time I ever saw an open heart surgery was at this um summer internship, and it was also like it was an anesthesiology rotation, which was the funniest part. So it's kind of coincidences are actually kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, it was like anesthesiology, but then they were doing like a open heart surgery with like replacing a mitral valve, and I was just insane to see that. So um also from these internships, so I know SHPP, they also have an ambassador program. So after you like complete the program, you can be an ambassador for it. So I was just telling as many people as possible. I think my sister even did it as well for like the dental. So they also have like dental, nursing, physical therapy, and they might have another one, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I feel like these summer internships just for the summer, great ways to like build your resume, your research experience, and just also being able to experience a new city. Okay, so for post undergrad, so I did the Y East pathway out at OHSU, which is Oregon Health Sciences University. This was a great pathway. It was definitely very very difficult during to navigate this during COVID. I feel like that's another aspect that even Thaius had to challenge like during medical school of like switching to online classes and just being like online and having to like not get that personal interaction with like your instructors. So this pathway was just really good. I learned a lot of lessons about like what study strategies worked for me. I also did get to learn from a lot of Native physicians. I believe Dr. Eric Bro graduated from the University of Minnesota, and there's just a lot of many other physicians that we had there that were graduates of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and OHSU that all work out there. And they're also leaders in medicine, just like building these programs to help, you know, a pathway for us to get into being a physician as well. And they really just emphasize like the importance of native health. We learned about like medicines that were like even like traditional medicines. Like I remember we had this berry making medicine like class day. That was a really cool experience. They even offered an anatomy lab experience that was like not as long as like a traditional lab experience, but it was a good like I'd say 4 or 5 weeks of just learning like quick run through. And I feel like that's really helped me in my first year of medical school already. And yeah, this pathway is really cool because if you do all the requirements and then you also meet the MCAT requirement at the end, you get into medical school right away. Unfortunately, I did not like meet that medical school requirement by 1 point. So that's why I applied again, but I applied to like, you know, more schools, and that's why I'm at the University of South Dakota. But this pathway is very excellent in like helping you get there. And I feel like it wasn't like a bad experience at all of like, you know, people are like, oh, you didn't make the pathway and get all the way through. I feel like it made me stronger as in, oh, I'm able and capable of getting a great score of the MCAT. And I improved every single time I took the MCAT. And I just learned about like how dedicated I am to this passion of like being a physician and like that I wasn't going to give up. So overall, it was a great experience. I really highly recommend it. There's a link that down there, and I think it might be posted in the chat, hopefully. But that's just the pathway. I think they end like maybe it already ended for this year, but I know like these programs they usually end around like February for like the deadline to apply.
And I'll just briefly touch on mine. So yeah, like Siam said, there's many pathways into medicine, and once you start medical school, everything is pretty much fast tracked. So if you have a few passions that you're interested in, and you wanted to do a master's or MBA or just take a break, work for a little bit, I completely encourage you to do that. Medical school really fast tracks you, and you study a lot, you work hard, you go straight into residency after that. That's another 3 to 7 years. And so For me, I talked with a bunch of mentors, and it made the most sense to me to do my master's before getting involved with the rigors of medical school. And so, if you have any passions at all, it's completely normal and very much encouraged to do that before medical school. And for me, I was really involved with environmental like science, and I found it very interesting. I found the connection between environment and community health very important. And it was very, I would do it again. I would take the extra year and do my master's again before medical school. So that's all I have to say for that. Siam, I'm going to default this to you. I don't really remember studying for the MCAT anymore.
Yeah, this is even better stuff. So this was like, I guess kind of maybe a little bit longer than a year ago, but I mean, it was like a year ago, actually, I was in this. It is my biggest tips for the MCAT. Well, there's a lot of different ways because we're all different on how we study, but I don't, maybe Thaius could back me up on this. My personal gold standard, because he alluded to this for me to like really push past the like increase my score, but I don't know how much. It was insane. But like Anki is a flashcard deck that it's like on your computer. You can also get it for your phone and your iPad, and it's free for like your computer. You load like a special like MCAT like miles down deck, I think is the one I used, MCAT miles down, and then you load that into like your computer, and you just knock out some cards like after you go through like a section of watching like videos, for example, and then you do the Anki questions related to that, and it's like spaced repetition. So that's really important, and like keeping the material fresh, because it is a lot of material for the MCAT. It's probably one of the hardest exams out there, and it can be really, really hard to like navigate if you're like doing this alone. So always like, just be around people and just like get encouragement from others and find people to like study with even. And then next, I use UWorld question banks. I feel like those really helped a lot. They're very similar to like what I'll be experienced for step 1, step 2 question banks. And it's very similar to the MCAT. I mean, they tell you like examples of reasons why you may have missed this question. They provide a link even sometimes, like, oh, here's a video to go watch about this. Very simple, easy to use, replicates the exact same format, like highlighting wise and crossing out the answers. And then also I took a lot of full length practice tests. I think that's really the biggest emphasis on like if you're ready or not for the MCAT. So I probably took the first 2 times I took the MCAT, I was not ready. Like the practice tests were like not there. And so it's just like, you're obviously not going to be ready for the test. And it's expensive test. It's really expensive. And so if you want to like save money and not take it as many times, and also like it looks better if you don't take as many times, that you make sure you're ready. Like you get 2-3 tests that are like, okay, this is a very good score, even like a great score. So then like if you had a bad day during the exam, then it's not going to be that big of an impact. I listed other resources like Kaplan, Princeton Review. I really use Khan Academy and like videos like that. And then there's even some summer programs. So I believe there's like an InMed summer program that I just heard about. That's like, it's like 6 weeks or 8 weeks in the summer of like MCAT preparation, and they take you through that. And then the goal is to like, possibly be ready to take the MCAT after finishing that. But again, with the MCAT being such a big like beast, I'd say you got to start really early. It took me, I guess, like 5 months in my preparation of studying. Some people, everybody's different, 3 to 6 months, sometimes maybe even a year if you're like working a lot. And that's about all I have for it. I also put the ANAM's student resource list, or for the link right there. If you scroll down to the bottom of that page, I believe it has like a bunch of programs for like MCAT studying, or like even summer internships as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, you did a great job, Simon. I think the biggest things is, don't get discouraged. This is a very hard exam. You're not standardized against the rest of the US. You're standardized specifically against other pre-med students who are very much very studious as well. So it's a very hard test, and then you get put to their standards as well. And it can be very, very daunting. So definitely take time to, really take breaks, take some mental health days, take some wellness days. And it's okay to feel discouraged at times, but as long as you're taking your time to recover and then moving on and keeping with it and not letting anything kind of hold you back, it's okay. It's a very hard exam. I don't know how else to say it. But just keep studying hard for it. I really encourage active learning. Like Siam alluded to, space-time repetition, lots of question banks, lots of practice tests. That's the best way to learn. When you find yourselves getting really into the weeds of the books, take a step back, look at the forest, not the trees. And then, yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yep. Okay, real quickly, the medical school application cycle. This is a link there at the bottom. Also, just like you just type in AMC, like how to apply to med school. They got it all lined out for you. My biggest thing is apply early. That really helped, I guess, the chances. Like it does kind of help the chances of getting accepted in med school. They see your application right away. They have it. They're able to read it. They're able to compare it against like people that are late to apply or later in the cycle applying. So yeah, just the exposure of just being like the first to apply is great. I believe the AMCAS opens May 2nd this year. Like it's always early May, and then that's just open to like start plugging in all the information. And then like you can first submit, I think like the last day of May is when like the first day you can submit. And when you get secondary applications from these schools, I know my brother was always on me about it. You got to get those out fast, like pretty quickly. You got to like just write them like as the best you can, but also like no, don't take too long on them because they kind of like sometimes they set a date, other times they don't. But I'd say within a week, just have the secondary application sent back to these schools. And on those secondary applications, it's more questions about they find like questions that are like more like what do you think about this scenario, or like questions about more of your personalities, I guess, is what they're trying to figure it out before like actually if they want to decide for an interview. And then for my interviews, I just put for mine, I think my first interview was like in November through February, and then my first acceptances were in February. But as you can see by this timeline, I mean, you could interview super early and get accepted super early. So it all depends on when you apply. You have anything else to add, Thais?
Yeah, there was one thing I wanted to add. Letters of recommendation. Make sure to, I think I started asking around January and February before I could submit at the end of May. So I would say at the beginning of the year, just think about who you want to ask for letters of recommendation. I think you can have up to 7. I think I had 4 or 5. Mix it up. I think having 1 or 2 from someone in the field of medicine, whether it be like a doctor like me who would write a letter of rec, or like a clinical someone, like if you volunteered for a certain program with like a shadowing experience, you could have them also write it as well. And I think having a couple from your classes as well is also really helpful. So I think like 4 to 5 letters of recommendation, starting to think about who you want to ask, and then asking them in January and February would be great, just to make sure you can be timely on submitting in the first week. So
yep. Okay, we kind of talked a lot about our med schools already. This next 2 slides are gonna go by pretty quick. So right now, yeah, I'm at South Dakota Sanford School of Medicine. Right now I'm involved with ANAMS, like a representative as well, nationally. And then we also have an in-med program here that's Indians into Medicine, that me and my colleague Dylan, we're both in-med students. And right now we just like talk to the undergraduates here at South Dakota about, med school, what it's like and everything like that. I'd say the coolest part about med school is there's a lot of social events, and also at South Dakota, we're getting clinical experience pretty early. So I've already rotated in ophthalmology for like a whole morning. And I feel like that was just great because I didn't think I was going to be able to get in the clinics right away as the first year. And we're going to have more opportunities as the time goes on. And then for policy, we visited Pierre, the capital, and we were able to just talk to legislatures about, advocating for medicine and certain bills and that are being talked about. And then lastly, the summer IHS Rosebud clinical experience is what I'll be doing this summer. It's involved with, I believe, Boston Docs out in Harvard as well. And so that's all I have for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I chose the University of Minnesota again for its commitment to American Indian health. There's a couple other medical schools out there that are very committed to American Indian health. University of Washington has a great program. University of New Mexico, University of North Dakota, and Oklahoma. I would also recommend those medical schools too if you're very interested in giving back to our community. They really value providing clinical care in Native communities, as well as having actual classes on Native American health. So,
yep. And then I can select one of the last slides. This is you again.
Yeah, I guess real quickly, you'll have all of medical school to really think about what you want to do for your life, whether you want to be a surgeon or go into medicine or be an anesthesiologist or be a radiologist. So actually, I don't really think this residency slide really matters at this point, but just keep your mind open once you're in med school. Don't anchor in on any specific field of specialty yet. I would just say be open to everything, be a sponge, ask everyone what's their favorite things, what's the drawbacks of their specialty. And yeah, enjoy it. A lot of my fondest memories are actually in medical school with a lot of my colleagues and friends that I've made through it. So yeah.
All right, Louis, this is our last slide. Just some more tips and advice. Like earlier I said, the Excel spreadsheet, like the AMCAS application does take longer than you think. Just having all your activities that you did, the number of hours, short descriptions, like paragraphs about what you did, who you worked with, their phone number, the facility place, even the address, I believe sometimes. So also just making connections with your mentors, very important. I had 3 great mentors and 3 great letters of recs that I used to get into every single summer internship and even into med school. I don't think I would have gotten in without those letter of recs because I knew that the relationships I built with them was really important. And then I was even told in an interview that I had a really great letter of rec from one of my mentors, and I thank them to this day that like they are always there. They're always there for you. So, and then lastly, seek opportunities. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's not like a sign of weakness or anything. Everybody's going to need help at some point. So if you have any interest in medicine, I'd say go for it. Just be out, just get exposed to it. So.
I completely agree. Sorry, I'm working on the Q&As right now. But I completely reiterate with Siam. Yeah, I don't have much to add there.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. This is our contact information. If you feel free to reach out with any questions, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. We're both very busy, but I think we'll be timely with our emails to any questions or regarding like programs or any like advice about anything. So good luck, everybody, with your future endeavors.
Thank you both for amazing presentations. I would like to thank you for taking the time out of your days to come and speak to us, to share your knowledge and tips and tricks. We would now like to open the floor to questions. We have a couple in the Q&A section. One of these questions says, how did you stay connected to your culture after you left your TCU?
Absolutely. I was actually trying to answer that one just now. So at the University of Minnesota, they accepted 12 Native students during my first year of medical school. We all formed like a really nice little community within our medical school, and was able to kind of just talk about, how we missed home, how we missed our cultures, but also really leaned on each other during that first year, especially when you find yourselves in those winter months in Minnesota. It can be quite cold and quite lonely at times. So it was really nice to have colleagues who understood, our upbringing. I think, yeah, going to the University of Minnesota was super helpful in terms of like maintaining my identity and my culture. What are your thoughts, Simon?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like Thais was alluding to, finding those programs or those medical schools that have a strong native like representation already. Like I know at USD we have drum circles, we have the Native American Center here on campus that we talked to, and they welcomed us saying like anytime you need food, anytime you need like a place to study, anytime you need a place to come talk, anytime you need, you know, some sweet grass, any kind of thing, they're like always there to help you. So I think it's not very difficult to stay in touch with your culture. And I also believe that a lot of my professors here are very accommodating. I'm sure the same way with Thais. They're like, if you have certain culture related stuff that you need to do, they already explained to us that you have the time to do it. Like it'll be okay. Like you're not going to fall behind. Once you're in med school, they want you to succeed. So it honestly would make it look worse if like, oh no, these people aren't going through with it. Something must be wrong with the program. So I feel like you have a strong community, and if you like get into a school like Thais, like where there's a bunch of native students, like you'll be fine, just fine.
And like the leader of our program is Dr. Mary Owen. She is Alaskan Native. She was actually the president of the Association of American Indian Physicians, our big body in terms of like professional organizations. And if you had to go back for any ceremony, she would be there to back you and to let the school know that she completely agrees that he needs to be back or she needs to be back with their community for the ceremony. And there's times where we had to do that, and it was important for us to be back home, and to have that support there is huge. So again, I feel like I'm plugging the University of Minnesota a lot, but it was a great experience for me. And if you find yourselves on interview trails, getting that sense of community and support, go for it.
Thank you both for those answers. We have another question. Are you the first doctors from your tribal nations? If yes, do you want to go back and work in your tribal communities at some point in your careers?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm not too sure. I actually think, yeah, I think so. I think for at least from the anesthesia perspective, yes. I think I might be the first anesthesia doctor from my tribal nation. But all in all, to answer your question, yes, I do plan on going back at some point to providing care. Like I said, I think from the anesthesia side, a lot of people just think we are in the ORs a lot, but we do a lot of interventional pain and a lot of chronic pain going forward too. And to provide that unique care to my community as well as the surrounding communities would make me really happy. So yes, at some point I'll be going back. What about you, Siam?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm very early into medicine, but any tribal community would work for me, honestly. It doesn't have to be my own home. Like even here in South Dakota, Minnesota, anywhere, it'd be great.
Mm-hmm. And to reiterate too, there's not a lot of natives in academia, so we need natives in academic medicine as well. So if you find yourself feeling like you need to stay in academics, that's completely fine too. We really rely on you to forge the next leaders going forward with like pipeline programs and helping to get more natives involved in medicine too. But we also need people at the front lines like me and Siam who are planning on going back and providing care to our communities.
Thank you. Definitely. This is kind of piggybacking off of the limitations of TCU. What kind of advantages did you think that going to a TCU you had, or experiences that made you different from the rest of your cohorts?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I can go first. Yeah. I'd say going to TCU makes you very more resourceful, more resilient. Like I alluded to earlier, we didn't have like the opportunities of other classes or like other schools of like having a pre-med advisor. So lots of times it's us going out of our way to like look up these programs, ask questions to even our instructors, like, hey, do you think you could write us letter of recommendations to get into this? And they'll eventually, they will help you out 100%. So, I mean, just asking those questions about, I'm interested in medicine. I know we don't have a pre-med advisor, but what do you think about these programs? What do you think about writing me a letter of recommendation? And then it starts from there, I guess, is like being your own advocate. So I feel like going to TCU, you got to be your own advocate and get yourself out there. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that I've learned from going to TCU.
Absolutely. And I think for me, going to TCU, it was really cool to be at Haskell. You know, I've made friends with, you know, people from Alaska to New York to Florida, and I was able to learn about their cultures and their backgrounds. And I got a better sense of what different communities need in terms of healthcare. And I thought that was a really interesting perspective going forward when I was meeting some of my friends who were from Minnesota are from like New York, and I was talking to them about their healthcare system. And I just think it was really cool just to have meeting so many different other Native cultures at Haskell. Yeah.
Thank you for those answers. I have one more question. What do you guys do in your free time? What kind of hobbies do you do to keep yourself sane or to keep yourself grounded while you're going through the rigors of medical school, of residency? What kind of things do you do to help your mind?
That's a great question. Right now, we're in our neuro block of medical school, and it is a lot. But I say I've always been a runner, so I run a lot. I work out now as well, lift weights. I'd say family is one of the biggest thing that keeps me grounded. So anytime I know like Thaius is very busy, but I could always call him, and then he'll like, you know, call me before the big exams, before the big quizzes, be like, hey man, how are you feeling? Because he knows, he's been there, he's done that. Like it's just so great to know somebody that's already been through it and knows exactly how, like I felt is probably exactly how he felt. So I feel like my family, talking to my mom, my sister, my pop, like just anybody family related really helps me. Also the Native American like community here on campus is great too. Like talking to the people here that are running that, it's just like it's just nice. It's like a sense of being back at Haskell. Because like I kind of like once you go to Haskell for 4 years, you kind of miss the community, kind of miss like, oh, there's a lot more natives that were like the student body compared to like my medical school class. So just finding like those little like glimpses of like, oh yeah, this is like back at being back at home in Lawrence, Kansas and Haskell is just like a great experience. But other than that, I don't really have too much like other ways to ground myself as much. I just kind of always think about why I'm here in the first place, what I want to do, like my future goals, my future dreams. And I guess that kind of keeps me grounded, just like what I'm working towards. So I think you're on mute, bro.
Sorry, I was saying to Simon, or to everyone, absolutely, I completely agree with what Simon said. Medicine as well as residency can be very stressful. You get put in really stressful situations and have to make really hard decisions at times. Grounding myself has been a lot of relying on others. I rely on my family. I rely on my colleagues. I have a wife that I just actually got married in October that I rely on heavily. She's my rock. She helps keep me sane while I'm here, like while I work these really odd hours. But you know, any passion you had going into medicine, keep it. There's a reason why you had a passion for it before starting this journey. Don't let it slip away. I've seen some of my friends lose their passion, and I encourage you not to do that. You went in, you had this before medicine, so keep it after. So for me, me and Siam, we like to fly fish and we like to run a lot. We still do that to this day. So whatever it is, just keep whatever you had going into medicine before going into medicine, and then rely on your friends, your family, they'll have your back, and also your community. Your community has your back, and they'll be rooting for you as well. Even when you don't think so, even when you're far away from home, there's people at home who are thinking of you. And me and Siam, who are very grateful for you for going into medicine as well and taking care of our people.
Thank you both for the amazing questions, amazing answers. I want to thank everyone for being on this webinar today, for joining us, for listening in on Siam and Thaius to share their experiences with us. If you enjoyed today's webinar, you can find more upcoming and previous webinar recordings at our website at sacnas.org/webinars. I also want to remind everyone that the IHS Scholarship closes on February 28th if you're thinking about applying to that. As well as there's a survey that will be sent out after this webinar ends that you guys can fill out for the benefit of, if you guys like these kinds of webinars, we can continue to do these. So thank you again for Siam and Thaius for taking the time of your very busy schedules to come and speak with us today. We definitely appreciate it here in Indian country. So thank you guys.
Thank you. It was great.